Hello and welcome to Love Handle, where we get unfiltered about love and relationships. In today's very special episode, we're very honored to have Aditi ma'am join us for today. She's the principal of DPS Gurgaon and has had a beautiful, interesting and wonderful marriage that we are excited to talk about today. Welcome, Aditi ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. So I'd like to just first understand, how long have you been married? How many years has it been?
We complete 40 years together next year in February.
Wow, that's amazing. All right, so I would love to rewind the clock a little bit and go back to the beginning. Can you tell us how you met your now husband?
We met at a common relative's house. And I was still doing my master's.
Right.
And marriage was nowhere in my horizon at that moment. But I believe his parents saw me and they liked me. So they spoke to that common relative that we like her and were other parents interested.
Okay.
So my dad was in the army and he was in a field area, so they couldn't ask him, so they asked my mom. And my mom said, we've not talked about it, let me ask her. So she asked me and I jumped. Obviously I said, rubbish, I'm not getting married, I have to finish my studies. And
Right.
I said, no, nobody allows anyone to study and I don't want to get into that space that, I have to fight to study. So my mother said, no, they don't look like that kind. I said, nobody looks any kind. I resisted quite a bit initially.
Wow.
But she said, why don't you just meet once? So the good thing was that he was also studying.
Right.
He was doing his MD, he's a doctor, and I was in my master's. So the sense I got was that nobody's in a hurry to get married.
Yeah.
So it sounded good. So I agreed
Interesting.
to meet.
Okay, and then you met him. So then what happened? How did things unfold?
So since I had not been thinking about marriage, there was nothing in my mind, which is, I think, a nice space to be. You go with a clean slate. But I had some friends who had got married. Their marriages had been arranged. So I asked that, what are you supposed to feel? Am I supposed to fall head over heels in love, or what is supposed to happen? So one of my friends gave me very sage advice. She says, if he doesn't say anything really stupid which gets you riled, and if you can have an easy conversation, that's the first tick. And that is exactly what happened. Though I must admit, he was very quiet. His sister and I did most of the talking. But whatever little we spoke, I found him to be very receptive and very open about many things. And I'm talking 40 years ago when men were different.
Oh, very interesting. What were your first impressions of him when you first
met? He let me be. I don't know how I got that, but I got that he let me be, because again, I'm talking not even 40, 42. We were engaged for 2 years. So 42 years ago, I had that sense that here is somebody who will not stop me. I don't know how to put it, because I was also a dancer in those days. I used to perform. So I put it on the table, that I intend to work, I intend to study, and I intend to keep dancing.
Right.
And I hoped that he would say, no, this won't do. And he just looked very interested. He said, I've never seen anyone dance, because, he comes from a family which was not into music and dance so much. So he said, can I come and see one of your performances? I said, okay, great first step. He's ready to see a performance.
Wow.
So I think it worked quite well, that there was acceptance of what I was doing. And I tried to probe that, are there any surprises for me? There was nothing, he's just into studies, into books. And actually, when I think back, he's quite different from me, because I like to talk, he likes to listen. I like to dance, he likes to just be a part of the audience. So I guess there was no eureka moment as such, but something that just made me feel very comfortable.
Yeah.
I think that's the beginning of any relationship. That has to be comfort.
Yeah. I think that's so important, to have a partner who appreciates your own interests and to have your own identity outside of the relationship.
Absolutely.
Is very powerful. Now you are living in different countries. You are navigating your marriage at a distance. So tell us more about that, and how are you sort of making things work?
So that happened out of the blue, actually. My daughter had to go and study overseas, and I think he applied just for a lark.
Okay.
And to his surprise, he got a position in England as part of the NHS. He got it not at the starting level. He got it at the level which he would have been at if he had gone there 20 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So that was a very attractive offer.
Sure.
And my daughter and he went, and then he discovered that if he takes the son along also, then he's going to be eligible for free education in university. And then of course he asked me, he says, when will you come? I said, whenever I get a job. I started looking over there. So they had this thing of retraining first for 2 years.
Yeah.
And that didn't sound very exciting to me, because by then I had worked my way up and become a principal here. So I said, at a pinch, I will go. It doesn't matter. I have to be with family. I've never lived alone. I've never been in a hostel either. So I said, this is a daunting task. I can't be alone. So I started looking, and then this whole thing of retraining came. I didn't like the idea. And then I asked around, if there was something along these lines, if it could be made available. So there was really nothing. And then to my surprise, I got support from some very unexpected quarters, from my own 2 children.
Okay.
Who said we'd rather see our mother 4 times a year when she's happy and pleased with whatever she's doing than have her here 24/7 and being miserable because she's worked all her life and now she has to sit at home and do nothing.
Wow.
Then my parents were very supportive, but they always have supported me. An unexpected quarter was my mother-in-law, who, openly said that why should she go there and get down to, kitchen work and housework when she's doing such a good job over here. And coming from that generation and that support was very unusual for me, because I really thought she'd want me to go. And of course, she never has forced me into anything. But even one word, a discordant note would have maybe troubled me a little bit. Then the hidden support came from my management, who said you don't have to leave. You can have flexible timing, you can have flexible holidays, but just stay on. So that's how it's been. Right. The very fact that I'm very family oriented. We have strong family ties. So, of course, thanks to technology, FaceTime, phones, we can talk to each other anytime for as much time as we want. To being there for each other on important days. To them understand that I cannot be there for something, if it's difficult for me. And sometimes doing really erratic things like, my daughter's graduation was on a Monday. So I flew out on a Friday evening, reached there Saturday morning, attended the Monday thing. Tuesday I was back in school.
Oh wow.
So probably my health is not at its best, but my mental health is at its peak.
That's brilliant. No, I think, sometimes these challenging situations are the true test of the relationship, of the family. Like this is when the strength is really visible.
Really.
When you have to kind of navigate.
And the fact that people around sometimes don't understand. When you meet people socially and they think either your marriage has broken up or is on the verge of breaking up. And it took time for me to steel myself and, not care about those voices. Initially, it did bother me a lot.
I can imagine.
People telling me how lucky I am that I can go to England 4 times a year. I said I live alone for the other 8 months, 9 months, whatever.
Yeah.
People talk. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't bother me.
No, of course not. How long has it been?
18 years.
Oh, 18 years of this long distance. Oh, wow. Okay, I have a rapid fire. So I'm going to give you some terms, maybe some Gen Z or millennial terms, and I'm just going to have you react.
If I don't know the word?
I'll explain it to you if that's the case. We'll start easy. Live-in relationships.
If it works, why not?
You're all for it. Dating apps.
Very good.
Really? Okay.
If you get to know the person, it's not a blind date. At least you're meeting somebody who, you're looking for some basic traits. So why not?
Situationship.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah. Same.
So then you get into any relationship, not just dating. Even as a friend, I have to be there in it completely. I can't be there and not be there.
Yeah. You're in kind of a gray area here. You don't know what to expect.
I like black and white, although I'm wearing grey today.
Girls making the first move.
Great. Very good. High time.
Ghosting.
They need help.
So what is your advice for someone who's been ghosted?
Move on. You have to get into relationships a little more carefully now, I think.
Very true.
Too much of this is happening. So it has to be someone
hopefully
who you know from before, or someone knows from before, and they won't just disappear unless they've died. Sorry. I'm saying bad things.
What is your stance on arranged marriage?
Works for some. Worked for me.
Yeah.
Well, it was. I didn't know him from Adams, and they met me. They saw me somewhere. They liked me and spoke. So it was arranged. So it works for some because, I think what you're talking about is all this ghosting, and I've had some friends who've had very, very bitter experiences of the person actually having a full family somewhere else in the world and coming here just to get married. And they've really ruined some lives. Some people moved on, they were very brave, but some didn't. They just got stuck in that. So I think it works very well that you know the person through somebody and then work it out.
I see.
And arrangement doesn't mean that you meet on a Monday and you're married, engaged on Saturday and married the next Monday. It doesn't mean that. Somebody's arranged a meeting. It's like a dating app. So that person becomes a dating app. You meet someone through them, get to know them really well. Only when you have that comfort and that trust, then you get into anything more than that.
What's your stance on long distance relationships?
Works very well. I think somewhere, it's a horrible thing to say. I think people should appreciate each other any which way. There should be more gratitude in our families and in our society. But I think when you're staying away from each other, the trust, the support works much better. You start appreciating the other person so much more. I wish he was here, I wouldn't have to do this again alone. I wish he was here, I wouldn't have had to do this by myself. So the excitement of meeting after 2 months or 7 weeks or whatever, that spark sometimes goes out. Maybe it won't go out if it's long distance. And certainly you appreciate each other so much more. You do stop taking each other for granted.
Yeah.
But there's someone like me who's living long distance and now looking for the positives.
Yeah. It's a silver lining.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder, would I have done it if it was 10 years before it actually happened? I may not have, because my kids were very small that time.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to take this step because they were older, they were more articulate. My daughter was in university. And it was them who had this courage of conviction that we'll manage without you. We'd rather have you happy and visiting us 4 or 5 times a year than having you here and being miserable.
Yeah.
So that couldn't have been the talk of a 10 or 12-year-old.
Yeah. Finally, do you have any advice for getting over heartbreak?
He or she wasn't worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Your heart is your most precious and it's yours. Don't allow anyone to break it.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's broken, mend it and move on.
Just like that. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, Aditi ma'am, and sharing your infinite insights and wisdom. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like it, share it, subscribe to our channel for more such content. Verona. Matchmaking reimagined.